always forget that I mute. Right. So, we'll go through the articles first, and then we'll take a look at the cards. But, ooh, the Living Legend Armory decks. They're something. So yeah. Oh, it's bittersweet. I mean, we'll get to it when we look at the cards, but them being convention exclusive is one thing. The actual list that they ended up having is another thing. Then the actual what's the comparison that's being made? Oh god, I forget. Secret Layer from MTG. That's what they're called, right? Yeah. Anyway, so Collector Week 2025 is happening, which is fantastic. It means that hopefully we should get the print runs for the previous year sets, and it seems like this is going to be the trend we follow, right? So around mid-year-ish, a little bit later than that, we get the Collector's Week, and then 3 previous sets will be Rosetta. Actually, does that work? No. No, we wouldn't get Rosetta. We just get Bright Lights, Heavy Hitters, Mist. Yeah, because Rosetta... I can't remember. Was Rosetta start or end? No, Rosetta was end. Start of this year was just the Hunted High Seas. So it should be Bright Lights, Heavy Hitters, and Miss Val Rosetta is the print runs that we should see, which will definitely be interesting to note, right? If we're recouping growth, gives us a better idea of where High Seas landed, and then Super Slam should be at some level of a jump up from High Seas, given that what's kind of interesting because High Seas obviously was just FOMO at the beginning, but you can still find it somewhat available, right? Should, I would assume, dry up quicker though. But even the Hunted circled back around too, right? So yeah, Collector Week 2025. What's anything else on the docket, right? So next week through to the start of August, then we go into Master Pack Guardian, then we go into spoilers expansion slot, right? That was soonish, right? Yeah. So there's bound to be something every week from now till whenever the next big break is. But yeah, so each day of the week we'll interview a different collector in the community, showcase their treasures, keep your eyes glued to our social media for giveaways, which I think they did last time as well, right? It's always fantastic to see. Deck techs, bit of bling. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at the end of the week if you like deck techs with a bit of bling. I assume that's just going to be a kitted out gravy, surely, right? And then maybe some other surprises. So yeah, exciting to see. It's always a fun thing to look through and read and see what's prized and shown off, and obviously the information that we get, right? I very much enjoy speculating on the print runs and whatnot. But yeah, so Armory Deck Legends. Gen Con started, so you can pick these up, which means we have the full deck list. Now, for reference, pricing wise, right? These are $60 decks. So they are equivalent to the Jarl deck, right? The Armory Deck Origins Jarl, right? Which came with Legendary, a whole bunch of new stuff, a new hero, etc. So, yeah, there was that rationale for the pricing. Now, I don't, in all honesty, understand the rationale for the pricing on the Living Legend decks, right? They're already Gen exclusive, so I assume there's going to be even less of a print run of them. Where is the... I guess it's down the bottom because it's supplemental? Yeah, I can't say that word. New player. Oh, there it is. Right, so yeah. The Armory Deck Jarl is a $60 deck. Usually Armory deck's $40 US dollars, right? So yeah, that $20 premium, if you will, got you those extra Majestics and the Legendary in the Armory deck. Now, for our Living Legend ready-to-play Armory decks, right? These are the deck lists. And I think the deck lists are primarily relying on the fact that Prism and Viz were both very good heroes, because, yeah, the only new bit of kit, right, is the headpieces, which will be available and in your gem packs for Super Saiyan. So keep that in mind as well, right? So there's nothing truly lucrative here because the big ticket item, the if you've seen them, the extended arts, alt arts, I think they're Rainbow Foil, right? Marvel, Reaping Blade, Spellbound Creepers, Phantasmal Footsteps, and Luminaris, right, are part of a separate product. They're not part of the Armory decks. Now, I was basically at a coin flip whether or not these should include the legendaries or they should include Majestic equivalent pieces. Mage Master Boots and your Sutcliffe Suede Hides. Yeah. So, again, you're paying $20 premium over a normal Armory deck for a hell. Because Bloodsheet Skeleton is banned, so I don't imagine it has a hefty price to it. Yeah, no. It is under $1 if you just want the history pack variant, right? So safe to say these are pretty disappointing. Right? I mean, some of the Majestics are decent, right? Are worthwhile. I mean, is there an easy way for me to copy the deck? I would assume someone has the deck list, right? So we can actually, yeah. So $30 value. The big ticket items: Revered, Runeblood, 450, Vexing Quillan, 250, Mordred Tide, couple bucks, right? I mean, this is sort of exemplary of what they should have done across the board. So Han Prostrap is a nice alt art. And, if it was Mage Masters and Calming Gustwave in matching artwork, I think I would have been happy with that, right? And yeah, it still would have been jank exclusive, so you still have to, go out and find them, and they'll probably be scalped and whatnot, but at least there'd be something to it. But yeah, no. If you want the fancy looking matching artwork, then you gotta buy the premium box, the secret layer box, right? Which will definitely be heavily inflated. But yeah, these are not. I don't think these are Living Legend ready, right? I think the Prism one's a little bit better because of the Soul Shields and whatnot, right? Yeah, Soul Shields, Celestial Cataclysm, the Shimmers of Silver, I guess. But no, they don't. They don't feel like Living Legend decks, and they don't feel like they should have that premium above a normal Armory deck. In all honesty, and they probably shouldn't be Gen exclusive. Again, it's such a weird conundrum because if they had a whole bunch of only find it here in the Armory deck till we get the gem packs, and then it's sort of a roll of the dice whether or not you find them, then you'd have that awful feeling of why are these Gen exclusive. But now these are the deck lists, and it's still that feeling of, well, why are these Gen exclusive? Why aren't these just something that can sit on the shelf and be someone's foray to Living Legend, right? Yeah. Very, very curious. But I mean, God. It's still decent. Majestics. But yeah. I mean I mean, God. I don't really play Runeblade or Illusionist, right? But from my understanding, these are not great, right? They're, especially for Living Legend, barely entry level, right? So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. At least the helm is cool. But again, you'll be able to find elsewhere. I wish they weren't. I mean, there really isn't much to them. That said, I'm still getting two of the... Well, yeah, that's the weird thing, right? My mentality was, yeah, I wanted two as well. I wanted to stick one in my box with all my other Armory decks, and then have one to open. But I don't really know if I care to get one to open. And, it being in Australia, I don't think I necessarily care to get one to collect if they're just going to be ridiculous. I mean, I think they're only going for slightly more, right? I think I saw the pair for like 150 instead of 120, so slight premium, but yeah, I don't know. They don't. I mean, it's not even fancy viz. I guess it's a majestic viz, single-sided viz, but still not tournament legal because I meant entry level for Living Legend, right? Because they're definitely not right. Yeah, I don't know. They're in such a mixed bag of feelings. I mean, since you play, right, Viz, Arcanine Tendency, do you take it in threes? Right? Is there a rationale why this couldn't have just been a three? Again, it has that premium. It's meant to have stuff to it. And it just doesn't feel like it has stuff to it because they're still doing the, here's your one majestic because we don't want it to fall mentality. Right? Yet they gave 3 soul shields. Although Celestial Cataclysm, because of the hefty cost, feels a bit more appropriate, right? Although I assume as normal Prism, unless you're going hard into Spectral Shields, you're still stacking up. This isn't legal in LR as is. Is that right? What's not? Ah. The Deadwood Dirge. Interesting. That is also a weird inclusion then. What is the blurb? Armory Deck Legends are series of ready-to-play decks supporting ease of access to living. Well, then surely that means it's going to be unbanned. Yeah, alternate arts. They gave one, but it does feel like it should have been a matching set. Like, it would have been forgivable that, it's Mage Master Boots if it was a full alternate set. At least that would be the chase element. So, support easy access to Living Legend, most explosive way to play Flesh and Blood. Here with a literally $60 deck in a easily $1,000 format. Features the most powerful heroes' weapons and cards. Right? I think that powerful is just attached to heroes, right? No? And weapons? Maybe an asterisk for the cards? Armory deck legends include many of the foundational cards used in the featured heroes from the Living Legend format, making them the ideal pick up and play at a Living Legend Armory event, skirmish, or beyond. I feel like these are just a worse start, right? Like, we're getting to the point where normal Armory decks you could take to a proper event, but if you took this to a Living Legend skirmish, you'd be shit on, right? A convention exclusive for some reason, featuring at San Diego and Gen Con. Both awesome pickups for anyone looking to experience a game at the highest level of power, or a collectible gift, right? So, yeah, they're still nice. If, again, there's better stuff and they're easy access, I definitely go out of my way to just get them for my collection. But, yeah, no. I feel like they're just... I mean, unless they crash heavily. I mean, here, I can do this, at the very least. If we go to a tournament deck. So let's find a comparable Living Legend deck, shall we? Sentencing tends to be overlooked because of the play cost. They could put in other things like even Succumb to Temptation. When were these revealed? Because I'm trying to think how long it's been. Who am I? I always get them mixed up. I want to say Sculptor. Oh yeah, right. Beautiful. Calling, first place. So Calling first place, $400 deck. And so far it features just Luminaris. Arclight Sentinels, you're missing the Cataclysms, Heralds. So you're missing Prismatic, Miraging, Fate Scene, Synclo. That's another weird thing. Like, these are such staples as well. They gave them to the Armory, to the Ira Armory deck, the Sync Belows. I mean, you get your Soul Shields, you get your Heralds, I suppose. It's not horribly far off, but again, I do think, Footsteps obviously makes up a big portion of it. So I kind of felt like it should have had Footsteps being a Living Legend Armory deck. And it should have just been even just white border, non-foil or something like that, just so it's there as a copy. I guess it would have looked awkward. Because the alt arts do look nice. They're revealed at London for the Dirge band. Yeah. Which means they would have been planned probably before Rosetta. So it wouldn't have had any of the cards, really. Unless they had easy access to. Hmm. Yeah, no. I feel like the quality's a miss. Should have been a little bit higher. And yeah, artwork wise, maybe a little bit more fancy. I mean, I am assuming they all have the right codes? They do have the right codes. So these are the proper cards. Footsteps and Creepers are in the Lion Shadow. Which that's the thing. If that's the premium, that would have been fine, right? They look glorious. They, should lesser pressure on the lowest variants, right? Because they should slot underneath the cold foils. Maybe some people would like them more than the cold foils because, they're from Monarch and Tails anyway. And then these could have had, again, like a white border variant that would be the bottom of the barrel. Or even, some crappy artwork like Sketch or something. They had many ways to tank the value if they really wanted to then just include it for inclusion's sake, right? To have these ready. All equipment should have been altered arts, yeah. Yeah. And you just get this tease with a nice looking hand cross strap that matches the head, but nothing else. Yet the misvow art just feels even more out of place. We looked up Prism. Because we should look up Viz. But yeah, it's just such a weird feeling. It's like, cool. These aren't as great as we thought they would, so no worries that they're convention exclusive. But then also thought, why are these convention exclusive? So yeah, Viz is greater. And no Arcanine Ascendancy. So at least they gave the Mordred Tides in full. Like Swarming Gloomveil, that probably should have been higher on the list to include, right? From Everfest? Everfest, right? Oh, yeah, no, it does tell me. Beautiful. Hmm. Oh well, they are what they are. Get your helms elsewhere. Does it say what version? So it is a cold. All right, so that's meant to be the draw. These are meant to be the big crux of the value. The fact that these are cold foil extended arts, and then I assume it's either plain or rainbow foil in the gem pack, right? Because I don't think they said. They just said you will be able to get it. So it might just be normal art as well in the gem packs. But yeah, so you're worried about exclusive cards. There isn't any, which is good. But yeah, overall, the quality feels like it should have been a little bit higher. All right. Means we can go to Mastery Pack Guardian. So we have, how many? 12? And it was 16, I want to say. So we're almost done with the spoilers. Yeah, there's 4 more Majestics and 1 more Legendary to see. And the whole plethora of stuff. The Marvels are definitely the curiosity here, right? Because we know there's 3 Seismic Surge. Oh no, I was just thinking it's just going to be all the Super Slam heroes as the Marvels, right? I think that works out in my head, the math. Yeah, we'll think about that in a second. We'll go through the cards. So, yeah, there's a good mix. We'll start with the generic, because I think this is just the LSS understand what they're doing, and they've just hit the nail on the head when it comes to the most expensive card in the set. Because, we've got Shelter. Did High Seas have anything? Actually, now that I think of it, aside from the amulets, it was crazy. No. But now, Fearless Confrontation is... I can't see how this is not going to be the big card from the set. So, instant discard this. Target attack gets -1, which is already really nice and flexible. And then loses and can't gains dominate. So, obviously, it's meant to be direct play against Velda and New Bravo or Old Bravo. Well, any Guardian dominate card. You've got that slight play with Azalea, if Azalea hadn't left by now. So, maybe there was that thought, because this was meant to be earlier. But generally speaking, it's a very flexible card, because it's that 3 block, but I don't have to overcommit. It's also blue, so it's pitchable. So if you're still taking like quick dodge flexes, for instance, then this card is just one of the most flexible defensive things in your hand, because in need be, right, for wide, you've got 3 charges of that 2 with quick dodge flexes. If your opponent's just getting over with that 1, or again, they have that dominate effect, you can strip it. Otherwise, it is just a 3 block blue, right? I think the only thing that's lacking from it would maybe if it was a yellow 6, right? And then it would have just hit all the sweet spots and been an utterly insane card. But it's another type of effect that I don't think is necessarily super strong. It's just mechanically functional, similar to the Shelter from the Storm, and in that sense, maybe could have just not have been a Majestic. Although I suppose if it was a rare in the set similar to Shelter from the Storm, it would just destroy limited, right? Whoever finds it wins, essentially. But yeah, it's a really good generic. Other than that, we have mainly Guardian. But again, there's still 4, so maybe there's some other sweet spot cards. What number is it out of curiosity? It is 128, so it is in set, I believe. Why am I... Okay, because I wanted specifically the Majestics. No, it is after. Although we don't actually know if that means anything, right? Because we don't know if there's going to be some sense of an expansion slot separation in the set. I mean, there could be, right? This could feature in the back and still not be usable, because it's still kind of a with the skirmish ruling. So the ruling is if your store is doing crack shuffle play for skirmish, every round you have the option to buy 3 new packs, right? You have to put your previous 3 completely aside. You can't use them at all. And you basically get to roll the dice again. And I kind of feel like value searching for something like this is definitely high on the list. There was another card as well that I thought was just very significant. But obviously the legendaries you can't use. So we do have 2, Base of the Mountain and the Shield. But we'll continue with the Majestics first, I think. So Break Stature. Crush. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, destroy an aura token they control. They can't create auras with the token's name until the end of the next turn. That's literally the card I was thinking, right? Because again, all matchups are Velda v Velda, so turning off their Seismic Surge for 1 turn is significant because it has that 2-turn impact, right? So you destroy them, they won't get Velda's proc at the start of their turn, they won't get the discount. Then, on their following turn, they wouldn't have created any anyway. So, yeah, it being a switch off for Velda for 2 turns, it's another big find this card and have that slight advantage, if not a better advantage, right? In any of the events involving this. So, yeah, other than that, it is just a really nice card, right? I like all the crush effects. I like the fact that they are impactful and they aren't just Guardian v Guardian like some of the rares. Clash of Bravado. When this defends clash with the attacking hero, the winner destroys an aura the other heroes control. So probably more of a Victor thing still, right? With the clash mechanics, because we're going into it's hard to set up correctly, right? Whereas Victor feels obviously he's very catering towards clash. So it is still nice destroy an aura the other hero controls. I think not as obviously impactful as preventing them from making more. I suppose you can still get around if you have more than 3 as Velda. Seismic Surge, essentially. Yeah, so nice to see that we are getting support for all the different Guardians. Headbutt, very, very interesting card. This can't be defended by non-head equipment, right? So you can only use helmets. So the fact that this is sort of a base element that you can then, do stuff to as Guardian is really cool. If you have a head equipped and the defending hero doesn't, this gets +1, right? So that's also really interesting. And then Crush, when this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, put a negative counter on a head they have. And then if it has 0, destroy it, right? So, yeah. Head equipment destruction is very, very interesting. There's certain pieces that, it's not really relevant. But then turning this into a 4 for 7 that, again, can't be defended by non-head equipment is just really cool, right? So, yeah, looking forward to see what exactly you can sort of, build this up. Because playing around some of the equipment effects is definitely really, really nice, right? Then we have our Peck Perfect. Whenever a card defends this, clash with... that's the inverse, right? I didn't read this incorrectly? No. So that is the normal clash defense, but this is whenever a card defends this, so from your opponent, you get to clash, which is also another really good Victor play, right? So clashing on the offensive, we don't have too many of those effects, if any. I don't know. Don't really come to mind. Heavy hitters is kind of a blur for the most part. The winner destroys the top card of the other hero's deck. So again, that's not super relevant. I mean, Guardian does like to fatigue, so unlike Assassin, it does have a little bit more relevancy. But usually, destroying the top card of the deck isn't as impactful as obviously Hand or something else like that, because it has no direct relevance to the next turn, unless for whatever reason your opponent set up something particular. But that's also something we've sort of moved away from, it feels like, right? So just the fact that, big attack that clashes, yeah, Victor likes. Put them in their place, Velda Spec, so this is one of the initial ones we had spoiled. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, they discard their hand, then they draw that many. So the idea being, triggers Velda then gets Seismic Surge. So, yeah. Just solid. Just meshes with her ability. Solid Ground, this costs 1 less to play for each Seismic Surge you control. So, get to 3, get to that sweet spot as Velda. It should be easy enough. Then it's just a free 5-block blue, which is definitely really good. But, even if you're paying 1 for it, or 2 even, I'd say that's fine. I forget how costly Unmovable is, but, Unmovable sees play, so the fact that this can be then discounted, can't get that extra block from Arsenal or anything like that, but still, definitely really nice. Leave a dent. Next Guardian attack this turn gets Crush. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, destroy the top 4 cards of their deck again. The relevancy there to fatigue is nice, but I would definitely circle in on the Crush element. So, for instance, with Velda, this is technically just another blue Give Dominate card, and a 0-cost one at that. So, second turn, if you control 3 or more Seismic Surge, cards you own with Crush get Dominate this turn. Right? So, I believe that still lines up. Good, at least in my head. I would assume that's the intention. So, yeah, you can have Velda's effect floating, and then give something Crush, and then that Crush will get Dominate. So, the fact that you can give any Guardian attack Crush, even a weapon now, is definitely really nice. Is it cards? No, it's just... Yes, it is cards, but it's not action cards. Anything like that, right? So, yeah, you can even give your weapon Crush and Dominate, which is definitely interesting. Again, top 4 cards. I mean, maybe we're getting to the point where Guardian can definitely just mill you out, which I would definitely like. I mean, Assassin was meant to meet that role, but, you know, it never really took off. So Guardian leaning fully into it, I think I'm fine with. Visit Anvilline. Actually, before I forget about it, I do want to check out Bravo. I can't remember what new Bravo is going to be. Pay 2, tap, then a face down card in your arsenal face up if it has Crush. So this doesn't work, right? Because it doesn't gain Crush till you play it, whereas you own the card once it's on the chain as Velda, so it gets to dominate. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Bravo's is throw great against dominate, so yeah, not as relevant. So I don't think you can use it with the new Bravo if we get an adult of the new Bravo. I assume we will at some point. Cool. Anyway. Alright, visit Anvilline. Remove X -1 counters from a Guardian offhand that you have equipped. So, there is some curiosity with that and the different shields we have access to. So the new one is interesting because of the Guardwell, it's a little bit detrimental unless you find sort of a sweet spot for it where I always look for shield. Are they still classified as shields? I can't remember. I think they're just classified as offhand, which I still can't find, even though this is always alphabetized. There we go. Right, so Orum's Aegis is definitely really nice for Victor, right? Because it still counts as gold, so yeah. But I think the comparison to be made is Seasoned Savior. Slagmite's also fantastic as well. I think this is significantly better. Yeah, it's X. So it's a 1-for-1. Versus, I think all the other ones are quite hefty costing. So you can hit Slagmite as your main question. Seasoned Savior or Testament of Valahai, right? So when this is equipped, Seasoned Savior... when you equip Seasoned... I can't say that in concession. I can't even say concession correctly. In succession, Seasoned Savior puts 2 -1 counters on it and the battle 1. So it starts off with 1 block, you can get back to 3. So that's 2 to get it back to 3, and then you go 3, 2, 1, right? So definitely some value there, but with Testament. So if you control 3 or more, this gets 2. If you control 6 or more, this gets 4. It has Guardwell, right? Meaning that to clear all the counters, you'd have to go pretty excessively. So you're paying less for Seasoned Savior, but you can potentially get more block value out of Testament. So I think in fatigue, right, Testament's probably better because you do still have decent ways to just get the Seismic Surge tokens, right? Even just hitting the 3. But yeah, nice card. So getting decent amount of text, lore text, right? Maybe we'll read that afterwards. Seismic Eruption, another one we saw early on. Create 3 Seismic Surge tokens. Just nice, simple, right? So yeah, it's a yellow that counts as 3 resources, and then triggers all those other effects, plus it can synergize with other effects. But it's just really nice. Test Divine Grip. When this defense clash with the attacking hero, if there is a winner, the other hero discards a card. So nice 4 block that could also yoink a card, right? So yeah, that is really strong potential, 7-ish value, or just complete disruption of your opponent's turn. So yeah, definitely a really, really nice block card. Hopefully, well, we're continuing with the trend, right? We've seen some ambush cards, we've seen other blocks. So yeah, we are definitely getting more and more blocks every time, and they are having decent enough effects that they are, in that sense, comparable to defense reactions, right? Maybe slightly better now and then. It's just that Arsenal use case is always awkward. Binding of the old ones, they're all the old stuff. Is there any... there are some. Fault line. If you have a card in your arsenal, this gets +1, and then Crush. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, put all cards in their arsenal on the bottom of their owner's deck, right? So, you give it Dominates. Dominate doesn't really affect defense reactions. It's okay. It's good enough as a rare, I suppose, right? Don't think we've seen any defense reactions, so, right? No, I literally, we've seen 1 defense reaction. It's Majestic, so 4 for the limited. Should definitely have a lot of usability. Hostile Encroachment. When this attacks hero, they draw a card. And then Crush. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, they discard a card. So the problem with that is if you make this any substantial size and you give them that extra card, well, it's just 1 extra card for them to block with. So it kind of feels like this needs to be a bit more overstated. It really relies on the Dominate effect, though, which I guess is trying to showcase the Velda-ness, right? I'm just trying to think how good these would be outside of Mastery Pack Guardian and Velda v Velda. I mean, we have ways against the Dominate effect. I suppose it's still discard. It's just neutral value, so it doesn't always lead to anything beneficial. Maybe if it was discard 2 cards, then you give them that one, so they have the extra block, but then they'll get the penalty. Renounced Grandeur. If the defending hero controls an aura token, this gets +1. When it deals 4 or more damage to a hero, they can't create aura tokens during their next turn. So it's a light version of the Majestic. 3 for 8, so decent. I mean, again, depending on the matchup and who you're going into, if you're taking the break statues, I would assume you still just take the Renouncers, right? It's still just a solid effect to deny auras for a whole turn. Again, it's another good use case, just Velda v Velda, right? Mantra Grande with Siege or Crown, Promising Terrain. From the artwork, I'm going to say I haven't seen this. When this depends, a Guardian attack, so unfortunately, we're getting into the limited play, right? Then when he creates a Seismic Surge token, so probably not useful. Outside of again, it's weird because a lot of these cards, there's ways for them to make them primarily the Guardian matchup, but still work in other use cases. So, for instance, it could be when this defends an attack with 6 or more power, something like that, right? Clash. And that way it has primarily the use case, but still transferable. I don't think I really like the limited sense. Even like the Treasure Island cards, obviously. Yeah, they didn't go over so well, featuring in the treasure pack. Flatten the field, when this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, destroy a Seismic Surge token they control. So, again, you know, just an aura token they control. No. Grind them down. When this deals 4 or more damage to a hero, destroy the top card of their deck. I feel like there's ones missing. There was... God, where did I see them? We'll go through the Reddit. Maybe they're up there. Otherwise, I think we've seen Grind them down and Crash and Bash. When its defense may reveal card crush from your hand if you do create a Seismic Surge token. That's actually a nice block. Anything that's, you know, obviously creating the Seismic Surge defensively is really good because then they pop straight away. So you're still getting that value, right? It's like this is, you know, gain a resource almost. So then the you know, 2 legendaries, which I think we've talked about Testament. I might as well again, right? So it's how much value? I think it always works out to 5 because you block with 1, gets guard well. You can block with 2, and then gets guard well, right? Equal to its block, so you go -1. So it's 1, 1, 1. Is it always 3 value? Because then Season Savior is definitely better. Obviously, if you block 5 straight away, it gets all 5 counters. If you block 3 straight away, it gets all 3 counters. Then you can block 5, which is 2. No, it should always work out to 5 value. Alright. Base of the Mountain. So, this card is okay, but it's not great in my mind, right? It's missing a few interactions that I would like it to have had, right? For one, I would have liked it to have 1 block instead. Then at the very least, you know, it's comparable to other stuff and you're getting some value off of the shorter plays. I think the main thing for this is it's in a sense, a block more card, right? Think of it like win more. I'm so shit at writing with a mouse. Oh, but I managed to keep it under me, right? So it's a block more card because if you block with 3 cards or greater, then it's better than the majority of boots. If you block with 2 more or greater, then it's somewhat equivalent to most boots. If you block with 1 card, it's not that great, right? So it's mostly used in that scenario where you're blocking with your whole hand. And if you're blocking with your whole hand, it's what's the term? Defensively, I like cards to act as a get out of jail card, right? So think Quick Dodge Flexes. Quick Dodge Flexes gives you the decision choice to be able to not overblock with X card, retain X card, and use that card to pitch for it because it's a defense reaction, right? So it's that get out of jail card in the sense that you've decided to be a bit restrictive in what you're going to block with, right? In the hopes that you can salvage and keep those cards for your following turn. But all of a sudden you need to block with them so you can reverse your decision in that sense. Whereas Base of the Mountain, everything's at the front. You have to just supremely overblock with it, and to get substantial value out of it, you have to give your hand, right? So in that scenario, if it started with 1 block, then we move down a tier, right? So 2 or even 1 card is still decent value. If it also interacted with not just action cards, right? So this card's defense is equal to the number of action cards depending on the action handling. If that was just the number of, I don't know how they word it because they probably don't want it counting itself. Although I would have been fine, right? If it was 0 block and counted itself in that sense. But if it was something like this card is equal to the number of other cards depending on the active chain link, something like that. So it could still count defense reaction. You could still get that value because that's another, thought point. In a really defensive deck, you have a defense reaction in arsenal. Maybe you have a block in your hand. You're going to use those 2 cards. Base of the Mountain now doesn't do as much because it's not counting those 2 cards. So you have to give your other 2 cards. Anyway, and you have to do all this before your opponent reacts because it's not a defense reaction. It is a card you have to declare and block with first, right? So in that sense, it's such a weird decision point that it doesn't have, to me, enough value behind it to make it good. Well, I should say to make it great. It's still good. It's still one of the best defensive pieces we have because, again, it's anywhere from a 1 to 4 value, right? Or even greater depending on the hero. I mean, it works well with, I guess, Length in that sense, in making up for his halving. I can't remember if it's all cards, if equipment counts. But yeah, to me, it's missing a little bit of value or a little bit of flexibility in what it can do, right? Even if it was a defense reaction, it would be fantastic because then it gives you that decision choice where, all right, now I can commit all these extra cards from my hand that I chose not to earlier on, and I can salvage my slight misplay or my bad thought. Base of cards you control. So yes, it would be halved as well, right? Which then makes it awful because you use 2 cards and now it's 1 block because it's not adding block to those cards. It's getting itself halved. So yeah, no, just a little lackluster in my mind. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will turn out to be fantastic, but yeah, I think just needed that little bit of flexibility because it should have been more of a split path. Here's your quick dodge flexes for wide. Here's your base of the mountain for big. Done. I suppose. Well, no, because again, you can't use it to play around pummel. You have to actively just play pummel in the normal sense. Because then all you're doing is you're playing this. You're getting rid of the cards from hand before your opponent pummels, and they just arsenal the pummel instead because they've already done their damage in disrupting your next turn. I don't like the fact that to get value out of this, it's just passing a turnover to your opponent, right? Extending your life by 1 and giving your opponent that advantage, I don't think is worthwhile. So yeah, good but not great, right? I mean, the other way we can do it is you literally just go, where's the legs? We'll go with 1 block or higher, right? So I would assume every class has access to 1 block or better at the very least. So for instance, you have stuff with Battle Worn, which is fantastic because you get both its effects and the 1 block, right? So if Base of the Mountain started at 1 block, then at least that would be better, right? And then you have all the classes that have 2 block anyway. Well, the reusable aspect. So Warrior's out, Assassin's most likely out, Runeblade Illusionist's most likely out, right? I guess it's great defensive pieces for Wizard, but you really then want to every class where it probably salvages defensively. Maybe there's that use case, right, in the X matchup. I also don't like the idea that Legendary is straight away relegated to the sideboard. It doesn't have a great primary use. Yeah, I kind of feel like I would have liked it more as a Majestic. But yeah, in most other classes, you'll have the idea that you want X better legs, right? Because they have a functional effect. And then, not to mention the classes that have access to 2 block already. So Brute, Ranger, Light Warrior, kind of Guardian, right? Because I can get ample use out of Sea Lace and then block for 2 with it. And I don't have to give 2 cards from my hand actively before we move to reactions or anything like that, right? Gapskin's a little bit better. Yeah. Or Temper. Although I think in my head Temper's a bit too much. right? If it had temper and you could reuse it, maybe. I mean, again, you still have to give more cards each time to make sure it doesn't destroy itself. When the combat chain closes if defended, destroy it. Would temper work? Would it retain the block after the check? I don't know mechanic side of that, but yeah, just more uses. More uses or when you could use it in terms of flexibility. And I would have liked it more. And that's, I don't think there's been any Super Slam spoilers. Anything else for the actual, just the heroes? I don't know if I've necessarily gone through the heroes. But I mean, they're all pit fight anyway, so. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah, marvels. That's what we want to try and figure out, right? So there's 12 marvels in the set. We know there are 3 Seismic Surge, I believe, right? I assume there's a Valda. So that leaves us with 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. Right? That makes sense? There hasn't really been anything else stand out. Not the legendaries. Yeah. Why does it feel like we haven't seen all the heroes? Let's go to Smash Palace. I think that would make sense if it just. I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily great, but you know, it'd fit. If all the marvels were just the Smash Palace heroes, since you know it ties into that directly. 6 hero cards. So there are 6 heroes. So no, we're still short. Was it more than 3 Seismic Surge? Because I don't think there's anything else token-wise has been referenced. Oh, that's just image. Great. Right, so, yeah. 3 marvels. Zelda, 4. 6 heroes, 10. So that still leaves 2. Maybe there will be the adult Bravo. Maybe there'll be old Bravo. No, they can't do old Bravo because we've already had old Bravo. Add Victor. Oh well. Still, in that sense, then 2 marvels, 4 majestics, and 1 legendary to eventually see. Right? And then all the rares and commons, but yeah. Well, I suppose the 3 tokens is the curiosity, since we know it's Seismic Surge. Whether or not they count the heroes. Because I assume young Velda would be a basic such token. And I guess High Riser is, so actually no. But we have High Riser, Young Velda, and Seismic Surge. They're the 3 tokens. That's done. Right? We're still curious about the pull rates too. But I think that's everything then. There's nothing really else that catches my eye. I am liking the dev touch, right? So leading up to the Super Slam hero. So we had the one about Rock, and now this one's about KO leading to the underhanded cheat. Other than that, I think we're good. Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Does anyone has any interesting thing to say? I mean, oh, I did say we'd go to the Fab Reddit. There was what was it? There was a UPF looking card. Why am I going to Unreal Engine? I assume it's this. Nope, that's the normal price. All that. I don't think we've missed any cards. Give a dent, headbutt, the mountain. At the very least, we should be able to find the light and shadow stuff. Oh, that one all? Ah, the Gen Con promos. There we go. So, EA. This one, Gesture of Goodwill. Which feels like it might be in there. It'd be weird because it's Protect. I mean, these 3 are in the Mastery Pack Guardian, right? The Gesture of Goodwill protects. When this protects another hero, they may give you a token they control, which is interesting. But obviously, it's right up there with UPF being blocked and everything. So it makes sense for Smash Palace, but I don't believe there's any extra cards in Smash Palace. Okay, if it's generic. Oh, actually, yes. Interesting. It's a generic block. So if there is this weird expansion slot, then it can be, right? It's whether or not we're classing the cards after they're surmounted. Do we have like a final Majestic? Out of curiosity, 26, 25 we do. So we can actually count them out. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2. So we're missing 22, 23. 22, 23. It's a big golf, though. No, it's literally placeholders. So I would assume there's going to be equipment. That make obvious sense, right? It's not just going to be high rise and nothing else. So it's Valda, Young Valda, high rise, maybe one more legendary equipment piece. And then that leaves 6-ish, right? But there's 2 Majestics missing here. Maybe 1 or 2 there. But it could also be at the end. Yeah, because there's 129, 130. $13. A lot of cards missing from there as well. Yeah, again, some exciting cards for Mastery Pack Guardian. Some okay cards. Very curious what this slot is. It has to be more just equipment, weirdly. Because obviously can't be that many Majestics. There's all the Guardian stuff. But yeah, so maybe 2 more generics and 2 more Guardian Majestics. And just a whole bunch of equipment. And whatever they decide to do in Marvel. It does make me think it's sort of a mini expansion slot then. Everything's just been scaled down. And the new blue block 3 looks sick and gives, yes, this. Yeah. The running theme of most likely a heavily expensive generic, right? That just sucks up the value of the set. So it does look really good and flexible. All it's missing is yellow and 6, essentially. But yeah, just the flexibility of -1 is still really nice, regardless. But yeah, still a decent amount of spoilers. We're 2 weeks out. Yeah, 2 weeks out from Mastery Pack Guardian. So I assume we'll get the rest of them and the legendaries probably in the coming week. Other than that, where is the fancy Runeblade one? Surprised it's fallen down so far. There we are. So 275 plus tax at a convention. So they'll probably be, I'm not gonna say Australian, but I would assume they're gonna start like $400 or $500. But yeah, if you want your old arts, here they are. To be honest, this is the better thing to have and collect than the Armory decks. The Armory decks are not so great. These do look cool. Would it be nice if the rest of the set matched? I mean, I still have them open? I don't have them open, but we do have them here. So Calming Gesture in the matching set, but they're not Mage Masters. And the idea is that you change out Mage Masters for the Phantasmal Footsteps. Same with Runeblade. Although their set definitely matches a little bit more. It would have been cool to see Bloodshed Skelter in like a purple alt art. Alright. I think we'll leave it there. There's nothing else that we've missed to go over, although I always forget to check the retailer news. Oh, I'd assume this is just about the invite restrictions. Otherwise, the overcrowded Cult 4 is definitely going to be really, really good as well. This is such a crazy block in a lot of decks as well. Like Guardian overcrowded is just another blue 4, basically. Right? Well, in one of the better Guardians. Well, not better, but what's the word? One of the talented Guardians, right? So Cletus has access to Confidence somewhat easily in Seismic Search, right? So that's 2 tokens. You can then also throw in, I think Might was the other one she has access to. Plus, then you have Vigor and Might through the wind-ups or the other heavy hitters cards. So overcrowded, should easily be a 3, if not 4, blue block. And then your gem packs, which will have exclusive cards from the Armory decks, which are just the Halo. And just the Helm. Such a disappointing list. I just want to say that again. For a Living Legend ready deck. Such a disappointing list. Hey, although you're catching me at the tail end. Actually, already talked about all the new cards and the disappointment. These do look cool, though. That is what I really want from the Master Pack Guardian. I suppose the new generic. This one's just glorious as a Seismic Surge Marble. Nothing else. Oh, Celebration promo. I don't think we've read this. Down to the Pulp's non-foil. Do a crack shot for play. Friday the 8th. So there's no pre-event for this, right? Because it comes out on that Friday. Get you Battle of the Pulps, which hopefully will appear in Super Slam. If not, that's also kind of a weird choice, because it's definitely a really relevant Guardian card. But yeah, I think that'll do us. Anyone hanging around or watching in post, thanks as always. Enjoy the rest of your morning, day, afternoon, whatever it is. Gonna go shopping and have lunch. Yeah.